So the ban on certain groups considered to be at high risk of HIV, particularly women who sell sex, men who have sex with men, including gay and bisexual men, and trans women, has been around in India for almost as long as the HIV epidemic, dating back to, I think, 1986 or so, and the blood transfusion guidelines formed shortly after. So the most recent guidelines, I believe, are from 2017, which continue to reflect a blanket lifetime ban. So if you are a gay man or a trans woman or have had sex with a man and you are a man yourself, anytime you're permanently banned.
Recently, the Union Ministry of Health and Family Welfare filed an affidavit with the Supreme Court stating that transgender persons, gay people and female sex workers are included in the at-risk category for HIV, hepatitis B or C infections. They also mentioned that these groups are excluded as blood donors due to scientific evidence supporting the need for safety measures. To know more about this, we spoke to Dr. L. Ramakrishnan, Vice President of the Health and Human Rights NGO Sati in Chennai.
The reason this became a topic of interest is that during COVID, there were severe blood shortages, and a colleague of mine, Shanta Kurai, who's based in Manipur, found that even other trans women who needed blood could not get blood from their trans friends because of the ban. So she filed a public interest litigation in the Supreme Court in 2021. And right now is when the center responded, saying that that blanket ban is scientifically based and it is basically to increase the confidence of the general public in the blood transfusion system.
Ramakrishnan also stated that banning an entire group of people based on their gender and sexuality is a violation of constitutional rights.
The problem with this is that the blanket ban basically assumes that everybody belonging to a particular group defined on the basis of their sexual orientation or gender identity is going to be at high risk of diseases like HIV, syphilis, hepatitis B, C, etc., etc. But the point is there is a lot of variation within the group, and there are also variations between the groups. So you might have a gay man who practices safe sex and has a fewer number of partners than a heterosexual man. So just denying an entire group the ability to give blood based on which group they belong to is seen as a violation of constitutional rights.
Let's see how other countries approach blood donation by gay and transgender people. In the United States, the FDA recently changed their rules requiring individuals, regardless of their gender or sexual orientation, who recently have had sexual relationships with multiple partners to wait for 3 months before donating blood. Moving on to the blood donation rules in the United Kingdom, the country has adopted a fair approach. Under this approach, all donors, regardless of their gender or sexual orientation, are asked if they have had a new sexual partner or multiple partners in the last 3 months. Canada focuses on high-risk sexual behavior among all donors. Countries such as the Netherlands, Israel, Argentina, France, Greece and Germany have already or are planning to move away from restricting specific groups from donating blood.
So, in general, India is a socially conservative society where people of different sexual orientations and gender identities are looked down upon. After the HIV/AIDS, epidemic came to India, there's further stigmatization saying that these groups are likely to be carriers of HIV. So that's added to the stigma. And if you look at the medical textbooks, even the issue of being transgender or issue of being homosexual, which both of these were declared to be not diseases by the World Health Organization. Way back in 1990, the WHO said homosexuality is not a pathology, and more recently, the gender identity disorder classification was removed. Despite that, many of the Indian medical textbooks have very ancient and non-updated versions of content, and you will find textbooks in psychiatry and other subjects, even gynecology, refer to these groups of people like homosexuals, bisexuals, transgender as having a psychosexual disorder or something like that. So that adds to the stigma, and now you have the HIV related stigma as well. In fact, recently I was looking at the blood donation guidelines in a private hospital in Chennai, and they had a list of diseases, and the individual was asked to check which all diseases they had, and they had actually mentioned homosexuality as a disease in that that list. So there's a lot of stigma going on there, and a blanket ban only furthers the stigma. I think what we need to be moving forward towards is an individualized assessment of risk. We understand that there is the likelihood of a window period where an antibody test may not be able to uncover the virus, but that's why we can still ask about risk and defer the blood donation to a period, and after which blood donation can be accepted. So I think that one does not necessarily have to go towards very, very expensive methods of screening, which was the government's argument, but by assessing individual risk, they can, say, don't donate now, but come back some months later.